SMART have traditionally been best known for developing the interactive whiteboard and providing teachers the tools they need to help them communicate and to collaborate more effectively in classroom. But the interactive whiteboard is only one part of the whole classroom solution. An important factor is to be able to capture students' work quickly and effectively, and that's really done with the document camera, where I can very easily add a page onto my notebook file, clicking on the document camera and simply placing the students' work, whether it be 2D or 3D, under the document camera and just capturing that into my page so that I can actually work on that with the whole class. It's really important that I can gauge the level of students' understanding in my lesson, and one way to do this is to use Smart Response. Here I can integrate questions very easily into my notebook file. I can use this for benchmarking, for hinge questions where I can halfway through the lesson I can ask a key question whether I should continue or whether I should review those concepts, or I can actually formally assess at the beginning and at the end of units to really track each and every one of my students. And now we're going to integrate student devices into the interactive classroom. And to do that, we're going to use a piece of software called Smart Sync. As you can see, we've got 3 students connected on netbooks wirelessly to my classroom, and we've got all of the standard tools that we would expect from a network administration tool. So I can lock each of those devices or all of them, and I can manage applications and the internet on all of those machines. The key to Smart Sync though is what happens when you give those tools to teachers. It changes from being a classroom administration tool to being a collaboration tool. So from the thumbnails, having the thumbnails up on the teacher's board means that any time a student can come up, or a group come up and talk about their work and actually control it from the teacher's machine without changing any cables or plugging any devices into the projector. But also I can transfer files easily from the teacher's machine to the students' devices, and they can send work back effectively. If I've asked my students to actually go and work in smaller groups in other parts of the building, we can use the chat functionality and the questions to keep communication between them and the tutor. But the real power then is when we start to use the tool to collaborate, by actually being able to assign groups, set an assignment, give them resources, and actually manage the return of that work to the teacher. It's important that students can use the same files that the teachers are using, which is why SMART have introduced Smart Notebook Student Edition. So students can now manage their notebook files on their machines and actually work with assignments and dates. But there are some concepts that students find difficult, and I find that I have to go over it again and again in the lesson. So if I add a page, I can use a tool called the Smart Recorder. The screen recorder will allow me to record the whole desktop, or an area, or just a window, and I tend to prefer to just choose an area. So I can choose an area of my page and actually work with a concept that my students find difficult, or something that I just want them to remember regularly. And when I stop the recording, it will save it as a Windows Media file, which means that I can put that file up on the virtual learning environment, and then they can share it onto their mobile devices. So if I play the recording, you'll be able to see and hear what we were actually working on, whether it be in class or something I've prepared beforehand. When I'm making these recordings, or when I'm using conferencing in class, it's important that I've got quality audio. So using Smart Audio solution and its 2 radio mics means that I could be in any environment where there might be an awful lot of ambient noise, and I can still be heard clearly. And the other microphone can be used to hand around so that students can participate when we're using distance learning. So we've looked at managing students' devices in the classroom and the quality of audio that's needed to support that. But what happens when my students might be working from a distance, whether they might be in hospital or working from home? Using Bridget, which is built into notebook software, my students can actually connect to the session that I'm running on the board. So with Bridget conferencing built into my notebook application, it means I can share my smartboard over the web at any time securely.